and how all of us are, as all of us are looking at our businesses and how we can become more efficient, and reduce cost where it makes sense. I just think of smart locks. I mean, like a Bluetooth lock. I mean, think about just it's such a menial task, right? To overlock and lock and unlock units, right? And I understand there's a significant cost to it, but I mean, look at the payroll savings that you have with respect to that. Your people can focus on more of the things that drive your business, like answering the phone every single time, right?
Mhm.
Versus all the cleaning tasks that they have to do. And then you can charge a tech fee. So you recoup some of the investment that you make. In every location that we've been implemented a tech fee, for whatever reason, we might just have an app that you can use to access the gate. We implement a tech fee and we get absolutely zero pushback. Think of that from a value perspective on what you gain just in creating. I have one store that charges an amenity fee.
Mhm.
It's $18 a month, and it's just maintenance. It's like we keep the aisles clean, we keep the restrooms clean. I mean, this is a large location, 1,500 units, and has a lot of commercial spaces. But think about that. I mean, when the owner first brought it up to me, I'm like, what? Right? Because I myself can be, a little resistant to it as well. But at the end of the day, we got no pushback.
Mm.
Think about that. That many units at $18 a month. And
Well, I was talking to Aaron Flocka from Mini Mall out of Canada in the United States, right?
yeah,
They rolled out back in February a laundry list of fees that they're associating to their account, almost like $19 a month that gets added on.
mhm.
And him and I had a long conversation yesterday about this, and he's saying that he's got a carbon recovery fee, he's got a facility maintenance fee, he's got an admin, he's got a payment processing fee. He said all these things, with all the technology we're bringing on, we got to those costs somewhere. And he said that stores that were struggling are now positive in revenue because of some of these things that he can now afford to have more technology partners for them. And Lynn, I got to laugh when you said yesterday that you were the oldest one in your organization. I flashed back to Dave Cooper and I when we did a session a couple of years ago with Brad Minsley from 10 Federal. And Brad's one of the smartest guys I've ever met in my life, right, when it comes to technology. We're leaving the session, and Dave and I are walking out down the corridor, and a young guy stops us, and he goes, he first of all, he called us sir, right? I'm like, oh, crap. And he thanks us.
You're over the hill when you get sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
As long as they didn't ask you to leave immediately after, it's fine if they call you sir.
Well, Shannon, his comment was, it was really nice to see the older generation embracing technology. And I'm like, go away.
I hope you took him down, Jim Mooney.
What do you think?
For the
Shannon,
record,
it was me and Dave Cooper. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Jim, for the record, he was directing that to you.
Yeah,
No, Dave, you were the older statesman there, David.
yeah. I think fees that enhance a customer experience or technology that enhance a customer's experience, that makes us more efficient. But fees that I think are a cost of doing business, right? You have a business. Like I'm against charging a credit card processing fee. I think it's just a cost of doing business, right? Because I think the upside of credit cards, if for just that specific example, those people tend to pay better. We don't have to chase as much money. But to your point, I mean, maintenance fees, technology fees, and I think I shared that story. We have that iLock location in North Carolina. It's 100% a Janice Noki location. Our average customer is between 67 and 75 in that location. It's kind of like a sleepy retirement mecca. And we charge $7.95 a month. $7.95 a month. And we have absolutely no one. Everybody's like, oh, they don't have smartphones. They damn sure do have smartphones. And they know how to use them. My mother-in-law is 93. 93, she's got a smartphone and she's on Facebook every day, 5 times a day. They get it.
It's funny. I met a gentleman yesterday. His family owns eight or nine stores in the Carolina market, and he's always been on the development side of things. He's never been on the operations side. And he stopped me, and I was talking about Veritech with somebody, and he actually stopped and waited for my conversation. because he wanted to have a conversation with me. And we were talking. I actually found Warren. I walked him right up to Warren and did the introduction and all. And he found me later, said, he goes, this blows my mind how friendly everybody is and how much everybody's willing to share. And I see Max Volatin's on here. He's, single operator. And we had this conversation again this week that, it's amazing how he could be in DC at the show, and his store's running very successfully back home in Georgia without him being there. His wife might have been happy she wasn't there for a little couple of days. What do you think, Max? You're on mute, bud.
I'm mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, most definitely. The wife enjoyed the break from me. Did miss me, but I had a bunch of rentals this week. It was very nice. I've got an auction ending Monday. Payments were coming in, getting rid of units off the auction. So business as usual, and I got to see lots of friends and learn lots.
Yeah.
Well, Max, you're always, going to these things and trying to take away something that you implement in your business. You've done it for years now. You learned a lot. Can you give me a little snippet, something that may have caught your ear during this last show?
The big thing I learned, I always knew reply to Google reviews, but the one thing I learned was add fields within that Google review that Google will pick up, such as instead of, "Hey Jim, thank you for the 5-star review. Hey Jim, thanks for renting from Gate 5 in Augusta, Georgia. For that 5-star review, we pride ourselves in keeping our property clean. And thank you so much for serving in our military and being at Fort Eisenhower. Don't forget about our refer a friend program." So it adds a little snippets for Google to pick up, and that was one of the golden nuggets I learned, because I always would say, "Hey Jim, thanks for the 5-star review. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us."
We always go back to reviews, don't we? Hey, Dave Cooper, how about you? You and I did a session. You won, and by the way, you won. You lost because you knew more people.
I don't know about all that, but okay, what's your question?
What was your one takeaway? I mean, you and I did a session, but even in our session, we had a couple comments that were just kind of like, "Ooh, wow." So, what was your one big takeaway?
Oh gosh, I had many takeaways. Jim, there was just so much engagement during that session, particularly surrounding the insurance. I thought there was a lot of interest sparked about the insurance, and I was stunned at how many of the attendees that were not offering insurance at all. Still.
Wow.
I just shared with my team
what's the hang up?
The fear, Jim, it all goes back to fear that they're going to lose a customer.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the bottom line trend forever, right? When it comes to rate increases and then insurance, it just doesn't go away. But it's a matter of just talking with other people that have been there, done that, and just talking with others to kind of alleviate that fear. So interesting.
I see Sonia on here from Calcumate. We were talking about your product at the show, about how well it works for helping the people online. Because one of the questions in the one session, especially in the session with Cindy and Brett and Andrew, was how about people who are renting online and renting the wrong sizes? And one of the things that Andrew came back with was making sure you have a great tool on your website to help the customer pick the right size. And I know Calculate, you have that wonderful tool. Do you want to say anything about it? You're on mute.
Where are you at? I'm looking. There we go. You able to unmute?
You're still on mute.
Still on mute. Don't know. I'm asking you to unmute. All right.
So, yeah, but it's important that,
Sonia, look at the bottom of the screen, bottom left-hand corner of your screen.
where the microphone is.
Nope.
If you can, put it in chat then. You can't do that, so. But, I mean, yeah, it's interesting for that, aspect. Who else was at the show? David Decker, were you there? I don't remember running into you, and I usually see you everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't make it this time. I got, I don't know, lawn to mow or something.
That's sad. I was gonna take you out for the most expensive dinner. You missed everything. I ended up ordering Papa John's at the hotel.
Shannon, we can meet anytime you want.
I was in your booth and I didn't get that offer.
Neither did I, Jim. Neither did I.
Pam, we were both there, right? We didn't get it.
Yeah.
Pam, what was your big takeaway? I mean, you're an industry veteran icon. How many of you conferences you've been to? What was your takeaway on this one?
Well, I did attend a lot of the AI sessions. Some of it was really interesting. Some things you can do. You were talking about credit card charges before. One of the things I've been toying with, and Cindy Ashby kind of pushed me over the edge, is I don't necessarily want to charge for every credit card, but when a customer calls in and takes my employee's time over the phone and wants to process a credit card, I'm looking at implementing fees for that.
We're doing that. We're at $5.95. We're talking about moving up. Max, do you remember when we were in Georgia and Mike Burnham said they're charging like $40 for a phone payment fee?
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Jim, I know you charge something, and you're going to lecture me. I still can't get my hands around the idea. I still don't charge it. But yeah, Mike Burnham said they charge something outrageous.
It takes
Max,
a lot of time.
Max, don't make me call Allison.
Yeah, yes, sir.
That's a good question. Who on here is charging a phone payment fee, and what are you charging? We do it strictly for a deterrent to retrain people to pay online through the text message. And I will caveat this by saying we're only charging the phone payment fee because we have all the other avenues where they can pay. They can pay online. They can pay through our wonderful call centers. They can pay on the text message. They can pay on the Store Pass wallet that's on the back of their phone. So there's many ways that they can pay without having to call us. But if you have to call my manager, we're going to charge you a fee.
Yeah, I think it's twofold for us. One, what Jim mentioned, right? One, there's the security piece of it. So somebody calls to make a payment over the phone. You have one human giving another human a 16-digit credit card number, an expiration date, and in most cases, the security code on the back, right? So you want to eliminate, I mean, you trust everyone, but you trust no one, because you never know what situation any one of your managers may be in at that moment, right? So you want to eliminate the need for any type of fraud or misuse of somebody's credit card. So that's the number one reason, right? And then to the other point, to Jim's, and I kind of mentioned it with, adding technology to free up some of your managers' time to focus on leasing units and not taking payments over the phone. And so what we do, we charge $9.95. And then when we first rolled it out, because we all understand that people are used to those folks that do call in over the phone, they're used to it. So when they call in, when we implemented the program, the training that we gave to the managers was, okay, when Jim Ross calls to make that payment over the phone, say, "Hi, Jim, glad to take your payment, but I just want you to know that we're changing our policies," right? So going forward, if you want to make a payment over the phone, it's going to cost you $9.95. But before you get upset, here's why we're doing it. So I'm going to waive it this time, Jim, but you have 30 days to set up some other way, right? And I can help you log on to the website, to your account, so you can do it that way. I can set you up with a monthly billing on your credit card, so you don't even have to worry about that. So that's how you do it successfully, just FYI. And
make sure you incorporate it into your lease. And one of the other tools we've done, when we actually, and I think you and I talked about this before, and Dave, we talked about this in our session, that we send everybody who's not on auto pay an email invoice 6 days before they're due with a hyperlink in the bio. It says, why wait, pay now, click here. That takes them right to the payment portal. So we've set everybody up. So in our world, especially for those of you who use SiteLink, you can run a report out of SiteLink and see how many people actually have internet access. And we've made sure everybody has access. So when we run a unit to somebody, we automatically make their gate code their web code as well. So that way the same code they use to get onto the property is the same code they use to pay online.
That was my biggest takeaway this whole week, Jim, out of all the conversations, because as a call center, as you can imagine, I need to make my payment with you because I couldn't log on is a big thing. So 100% I'm offering that. If every store in the world did that, it would be wonderful for you guys. Like, make it so they don't have to call you. That's a happy tenant stay longer, right, Lynn?
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
See, Jim, look at all the fun you missed not being in DC. You didn't get to see Lynn, you didn't get to see Pam, you didn't get to see Shannon, you didn't get to see Max. Are you a little jealous yet?
I'll see the majority in a few weeks, a few short weeks in Vegas. That's how it goes. So how did your session go? Was it well attended?
Cooper, you want to answer that one? If he's there? I know he's there. No, give him a minute.
I'm sorry, what was that, Jim?
I was just curious how your session went.
I thought the session went great. I mean, again, we had a lot of engagement. We wanted to, you're referring to the session me and Jim did, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wanted to take a break. We are going to take 10 minutes in the middle and everybody's like, no, let's keep going. This is great.
And what was it on?
Our session, just ways of increasing revenue at your facility. 5 ways you can increase revenues.
Actual title was, can a manager affect revenue? And big bold letters, YES.
That's right.
Interesting. What were give me the highlights.
Well, the biggest thing, we talk about all the time, Jim, is, logging every lead in and working every lead. And one of the I actually sent out the slides this morning. People asked me for slides, and
Nice.
one of the gentlemen responded back. He said he's actually stealing 2 of our slides about the importance of the follow-up. And the one we showed was the longer the follow-up goes without, the less chance of getting them to rent. So it was a scale that really articulated in the hours and time frame how your chance of getting that rental drops dramatically if you're not following up within 30 minutes.
And that was a powerful slide, Jim, because that speaks truth, right? I mean, and then the additional one was if you're unable to make contact with the person who reserved the unit with you, how many of us give up after 1 or 2 attempts of reaching out to that person versus just being diligent and just continuing to follow up until you're able to establish that contact and get them to commit. Other areas, Jim, that we did discuss were insurance sales, merchandise, working your delinquents. I mean, we touched on several different areas. Ancillary income. I actually had 2 different people approach me after the session asking me about shredding. I mentioned that we offer a shredding service at a few of our facilities, and they were asking me how we do it. And we actually have industrial shredders where we have large windows and we will shred all of your documents. We charge about $1 a pound, but if you want us to stop everything and shred it in front of you, because a lot of people are very insecure about leaving items that they want shredded in someone else's care, custody, and control, and them not seeing it being done, we charge $1.50 per pound if you want to watch us do it right then and there. And we have a big window, and we generate a couple $1,000s every month for it. It's a pretty good source of income.
You generate a couple $1,000s from shredding
every month. It's fantastic.
Wow.
You would have never have thought, right? I would have never have thought, but it's actually
never would have thought that.
We probably fill 20 to 30 recycle bins every week.
Now, Dave,
Wow.
is that with a shredding company like
No, sir. We have our
Pro
own
Shredder
shredder.
those guys?
Yeah, we have our own industrial shredder, and we need a 10 by 20 to keep the unit, to keep it in the unit, and to keep all the bins with it. Yeah, it's a big shredder, but it's great.
And I would assume you promote this not just with your customers, but outside, like an outside service, and they would come to your facility to shred?
No, we do it. It's ours. We own the equipment. We purchase them, and we do it all ourselves.
Did you advertise it out to the marketplace everywhere?
I'm sorry,
How do
Shannon.
people come to you to do their shredding? That's what I'm wondering.
How do they know to come to us? just word of mouth, and we've been doing it for a while. It took a while for it to really take root, but we're established in the community and they all know we have it. And just between the foot traffic between storage and truck rentals, it's also a very active truck rental location. And you know, just word of mouth and foot traffic, we haven't had to advertise it at all.
Hey, Dave, by the way, you were, I don't know if you were in Jeff Greenberger's session, but he said anybody who's not on first of the month billing is crazy.
No, I missed that. And I still think there are pros and cons to both.
Agree.
Just busting your chop there, dude.
I know you are, Jim. I wouldn't expect anything less.
But one of the other big takeaways,
Yeah.
Jim Ross, was we talked about, you know, we're all back to kind of giving out concessions and discounts and all those things. And, you know, as a general rule, most of us in the industry do not like first month free because it just invites problems, right? So we're doing 50% of your first full 2 months.
Yep.
And one thing I brought up in our session was that in our lease, it says if you don't pay on time, you lose your discount. So they know that, and every month that we go through and when the late fee hits on day 6, we're going to scan the system real quick to see if anybody who's past due got a discount. And we actually added a loss of discount charge back in the site link. They're going to lose a discount. So why should we give somebody a discount if they can't pay their bill on time?
They don't pay on time.
Yeah.
Why should they get a 10% military discount?
Yes.
What was that?
Taking advantage.
I didn't hear it.
That's great.
No, that's a great way. I mean, you know, you lose your discount, auto pay as well. You know, that's another way of pushing auto pays for getting those discounts as well.
Well, I love that. I still can't wrap my hands around people will, you know, give somebody or waive the late fee or give them a discount to sign up for auto pay. And then the very next month, the auto pay fails.
Yeah.
So I don't completely understand that grasp of that thing. But again, and that's the great thing about us. What works in one store may not work in another store, even in your own organization. Like Lynn's here. How many 200? How many stores, Lynn? 240?
580.
Not even close. Sorry, Lynn. But I guarantee what works in one of her stores doesn't work in all her stores some days.
That's right. Mhm.
So,
Great.
a-
What kind of
anybody else got
questions
some takeaways from the show?
I was just curious, as you were doing your sessions and that, you said you were getting some questions about
gave you some.
insurance. Did you get any interactivity from people in the audience? That's always the worst thing when you're doing like the presentations at the show. You're like, hey, any questions?
We actually had
They
some
just
good
sit
ones,
there,
and
okay.
one of the ones Dave kind of talked about, you know, giving up too soon. And we have a slide in our show that says, and this is not a storage specific slide. I got it from in sales for in general, but 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. And that was one of the questions we were asked is, you know, how many times should I call you back if you're looking for inquiry? My answer's always been, when do they need it by? Because if they don't need it for a month and a half and you call twice and cancel, they're probably not ready for you yet. A lot of it goes by then.
Yeah.
So thinking about that aspect of it, about giving up too soon or not calling back, it's fun.
Well, that comes down to the proper notations too. When that first communication's being had, is making sure all those it's the details. You know, I'm really putting that down there, not just like, oh, I got a call today.
Yeah. The other one was admin fees. People are, you know, sometimes people are afraid to charge admin fees. We did a quick survey in a room, and we had some people that were no admin fees. Some were $5 or $10. Some were 20. We're at 29 now. But I think, Dave, didn't somebody say they were $40 admin fee?
I want to say they said 49. It was a lot.
Yeah, it shocked me when they said that. So
Who was doing that?
it was a store weren't they in Arizona, Dave?
I think you're right, Jim.
Dang.
Our admin fees are anywhere from 29 to 49, depending on which region we're in.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you can get that in Boston, you can get that in, you know, certain areas. It's just expected. The REITs are doing it, so if the REITs are, why shouldn't I? Right?
Exactly.
No, true. I mean, again,
And one of the other topics I think was marketing and I know Cindy referenced Melissa Stiles. I actually call Melissa the marketing queen because when I got a marketing question, she's the first person I think to ask, her or Stacey Maxwell, because they're
Sharp, super sharp. Mhm.
geniuses in what they do.
Yeah, they're both amazing.
Yeah. The one question I got yesterday was Sparefoot. Everybody loves to hate them. But if you work it right,
Yeah.
I can tell you, looking at 2023 numbers, my average cost per rental for Sparefoot was $130.33. You can't get that with pay-per-click in some markets.
And what do you attribute that to? What are you optimizing? Pictures, obviously. What else you doing?
Not really. I mean, the biggest thing for us is making sure making sure the reviews are right. We got good pictures. And one of the things that I hear a lot from people is Sparefoot. They only list one size, or I'm only gonna put my 5x5s or my 10x10s on. And I know that has a negative effect on their algorithm. I have all my stores on there and all my sizes on there because in my mind, and again, I could be completely wrong, but if somebody's landing on their page and I'm not there, I can't play the game. But if I am there, and I said they accounted for almost over 1,100 rentals for me last year for 26 stores.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I find the more hands-on you are with Sparefoot, with managing the units and turning some on and turning some off, you will be suppressed in the rankings, and it'll cost that much more to get back into a desired ranking or position that you like to be on with Sparefoot.
And I can tell you, we're ranking better. Even with our bid rates, we haven't touched it in a while.
Yeah.
But because we got better closing percentage, better click-through rates, better pictures, all those things, we're actually outranking people who are trying to pay more than us. So if you really, manage your Sparefoot account the right way and not just set it and forget it, you can do successfully.
I heard a horror story this week about someone saying that they had a bid rate of $200 street rate, and then they sold the unit for $130, which was their web rate with a 50% for first month. So they essentially made $65 on this and paid 3 times their street rate to Sparefoot for the privilege of having received that. So the bid rate thing, I guess that was kind of new to me since I'm not an operator. I don't get into
I
that
was sitting
space.
with you with that one, Shannon. That was an eye opener.
Yes, and I wrote that down to have it as a real life example, because man, if you just put your street rates out there and don't manage that could be scary.
I know they're finally coming to, I had a conversation with Nick Johnson, their head of product. They're finally rolling their value price. If you're using value pricing like Veritech on your product, they're going to be rolling that on the Sparefoot as well. So that's going to be an advantage for us as well. So, but
Can
again,
you mute Mary Jo Willie's open mic?
Jim, can you
Please.
mute that one?
Who is it? Mary Jo?
Mary Jo Willie's mic is open. She's got other conversation. Thank you.
I couldn't tell who it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, it's like anything else. I mean, Lynn, you talk about it all the time. I love whenever I see Lynn in the room, I know I'm going to get a nugget from her because she's phenomenal. And you got to manage your data and you got to manage your information to get the best out of it. It's not we'll never be in a set it and forget it environment.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing that we need to do a better job of helping all of the self-storage association or even just self-storage owner operators understand, what data, right? What data do you have access to, whether that's through your management software, from some of the tech stuff that you utilize, whether some of the lead aggregators that you do, what data can you get from each one of those? How do you pull it into some kind of data visualization tool so that you can see things at your fingertips any moment of the day that helps you identify trends, help you identify where you should be focusing on. Like again, working with a data scientist, I was talking to Mason Levy at Swivel after our presentation because I wasn't happy with our presentation. Not that I wasn't happy with our content. I was happy. You can't get nothing done in 45 minutes where somebody leaves that presentation, at least saying, wow, I want to do this 1, 2, and 3 things. And my next steps are these 1, 2, and 3 things. So I said to Mason, look, Mason, let's talk to the SSA about doing like a minimum 2-hour presentation. where somebody leaves the room, maybe you went over 7 or 8 different large initiatives that any single or large operator should be looking at on a daily basis to help drive their KPIs, drive their business to a better level of success. And when they leave that, and also say, so here are the first 2-3 steps that you have to do for each one of those initiatives to start thinking about how you're going to do it. And then here are the people out there on that vendor floor, booth 1, 17, 42, 36, that you can start a conversation with and start thinking about. I think we need to do a better job of that. I think people leave their rooms going, well, that sounded good, but I don't know where to go next, right? Anyway.
That's always been my hang up on some of these presentations. And myself, I'm guilty of as well when I get to presentations. It feels like it's such a 10,000-foot view of this is what you should do, but no, here's the action plan. Here's how to do it. Here's how to implement it. That's always kind of been the disconnect for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. So maybe, Jim, you can work with us on that. That would be wonderful.
I love doing that kind of stuff. I look at them like they're workshops, boot camps, whatever you want to talk, the label you want to put on it, but it's much more. That's why we're kind of doing this too. I mean, we're going to tell you what vendors we use. We're going to tell you what we're doing in our own operations, because the only way you learn. And it's one thing to be like, oh, we'll have to raise our rates. Okay, what does that look like? What's the percentage? How do you implement that? Sometimes people don't even know where to even go on their software to make it utilized correctly.
Right. Exactly.
I want to have some software guys that's been on here being like, cool, peek under the hood, give me the top 10 things that are underutilized in the storage software that most people don't know about. Oh, cool. Here you go. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Mind blown, right? Oh, was that there the whole time? I didn't know, right? Because they don't know. Right. Mm-hmm.
We actually stopped by DaVinci's booth because DaVinci just had that new rollout with their updated website. Yeah. And I can tell you, most people I talk to, including my own managers, hate the new layout of their portal to doing the locks. And I actually jokingly said to them, I said, guys, when you did this, did you have an operator look at it before your programmers and engineers just built it? And I think that's one of the things we look at a lot of times for vendors is these guys are smart programmers or smart designers, engineers, but operationally, will it work? And work effectively?
Yeah, interesting. I haven't played with it honestly yet to see what that disconnect might be with. So the UI
Mary Jo just
how it works is two different things.
Jim, I don't know if you just saw Mary Jo just asked a question. You want to read it out?
All right, Mary Jo, what do we got here? How do you feel about partial payments in the class? Keep these words. I know you're gonna get ahead of me here. Keep these words out of your mouth. The speaker discouraged partial payments. That is an invitation to move out. We allow tenants to use them provided they keep up on the payments, but sometimes tenants will abuse it. I think all the time they abuse it, in my opinion. So I hate partial payments.
I can tell you, we do not do partial payments. The only time, even we talked about this in Dave in our session, auctions. People come in for an auction, they owe you $600. They walk in, hey, I got $300. We're not taking it. You know what? They come back in the door with the $600 because they have it. They just won't give it to you. Because I think Dave said, well, somebody said in our session, storage is not a real bill. It's one of those after bills, right? But partial payments, and like Jeff's, and even I was in Jeff's session, Mary Jo, and he said, well, you did it last time. Why won't you do it this time? When you start picking and choosing what verbiage of your lease you're going to violate, does your lease really even stand up to anything anymore?
True. Yeah, it's well, what about the people that say, oh, like if they're in auction status, you're trying to work out a deal, like paying half and get out.
They have to show up with if they're doing that, they got to show up with the truck and they're paying out.
Yep.
We're not going to allow them to do that.
Yep.
I saw Roland's on here from Access Storage out of Jersey. Roland, do you guys take partials? You want to hop on?
Hey Jim, how's it going? No, we do not take partials, just for the simple fact that we don't want to extend the pain. If it's time to go, unfortunately, it's time to go. Let's cut our losses and move on.
How do you think the show was, Roland? We didn't even get to catch up.
I saw you from a distance and we didn't get to connect. I thought the show was great. Seeing the industry moving towards more of a revenue management minded mindset. That's where my background has come. I come from hotels, and really accepting all of that revenue management has to offer the industry. I'm super excited.
Just curious, was again, I'm kind of behind the times since I wasn't there. Did storage roll out anything new with their rental portal or revenue management? I know they've been talking about it. I was curious if that coincided with the SSA show.
I didn't see anything.
See
I know
anything?
they were working with Call Potential, trying to get a couple things going. And I mean, look, everybody's always trying to, we're always building a better mousetrap and trying to do new things. And I just think it's, we
Anything
go to
new?
shows all the time. Cindy actually said yesterday in one session, she said she's been she's been in the business 30 plus years. And she said that during her session, that when Andrew from 10 Federal said something, he blew her mind.
Yeah, right. That true.
It was using, was it, Pam, was it using the AI technology to read through all the reviews to figure out what their pain points were?
Yes,
So they
yes.
could focus on that.
Yep.
Oh. Cool.
That's mind blowing. Well, again, 10 Federal, Brad and his team and Andrew, they're always forward thinking. I mean, we were joking in there about the drones. How many drones do they have? Are they going to start selling the drones off? Because they use their drones for flying around the property, which is kind of creepy a little bit. But
I mean, they haven't. I know they added a couple years ago. Last time I heard. Wonder how many they have that rolled out now.
Pam, do you remember how many he said they have?
No, I walked in after that, but I know they've been buying and selling a lot. So I see those press releases.
So, but Mary Jo, just go back to your question. Partial payments, just in my mind, are just causing more headache down the road for you guys. And in my world, we're not going to do it. Just like in my world, we're not going to waive late fees.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you just have to draw a line in the sand. Frankly, it saves you so much headache down the road because it's what it is. I mean, they're kind of like just kicking the can down the road. They're just delaying that pain. And in my mind, you're doing them a favor. If they're already kind of behind right now, just pay it up now and get out versus keep delaying it, and it's going to add up. You're going to get more fees. You're doing it for them and yourself. It's having that.
Can I add a thought to that subject?
Yeah,
absolutely, Steve. Hop on.
I come from the income real estate world before self-storage. I've been 30 plus years in investment real estate. And we had a guy at one of our sessions years ago, and the whole room at a local marketing session was everybody of the mentality I'm hearing right here. And I'm not saying that anybody's wrong, but one guy in the room said, I have a tenant that is forever late with the rent. And it was such an unbearable situation that I was turning to evict this family from one of the rental properties. And one day it was suggested that I ask him, why is he always late? And it turned out that this guy's paycheck didn't align with his lease payment schedule. And so they made a minor modification. They actually cut his monthly rental payment in half, and he paid half at every pay cycle. And because that made him offset a little bit, they actually increased his monthly rental fee because of an inconvenience factor or a late factor or whatever the case may be. And I can't help if, especially in the age of automation, you can't offer that convenience payment factor to all the tenants. And I suspect that that's exactly the driving factor for so many people. They're trying to hang on to this money to make that it's not a payment. And it's just not lasting until that payment is due. And they're not of the mentality to pay early. But if their payment was aligned in advance with their pay cycle, they might not have that issue at all. Just a thought.
Interesting thought.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it's not like, those storage softwares can, account for that, cutting your payment in half and doing 2 separate payments. Not that I know of, can do that kind of thing. Yeah, it's
A
It is
decent
one of-
question, though. If your billing cycle was simply every 15 days or on the 1st and the 15th or something similar, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work with the legal entity of the leases being a month-to-month lease. I don't know how that would play out. But no, I mean, look, there's always. I can tell you, Steve, years ago, I was at a store and I had a lady who was always late, always late. Her and her daughter both had units, and they were both. The mother was paying for both of them. And I said, listen, I said, how about this? I mean, they were in the 2 5x10s. I said, how about if we rent you a 10x10? We'll get you on a new cycle, get you caught up, paid up. I even gave her half off the first month to get her in there. And I said, look, now you can pay yourself here. And it was for like 3 months. It was perfect. But then she fell right back into her own routine. And I can tell you, I've seen units where, every 90 days they're in auction status. And I actually had one when we cut the lock. We always leave the lock in the unit, right? Steve, I had one unit when I cut it. There were 13 cut locks in that unit. I mean,
So
what Lynn said earlier about the horse, leading the horse to water, making it drink. Some people, and we can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
And to quote Bob Copper, avoid the isms, because if you do something for one person, could that lead to a slippery slope? And Jim, I think the answer is yes.
And on your last comment there, if you're gonna offer a semi-monthly payment, every 2-week payment, whatever you want to call it, to one, then you do just offer it to everybody with that tiny little increase convenience fee. At the same session, different day, same group of people, same session. One guy was dumping one of his rental units because it was just driving him crazy. Every single month, his tenant was late and he couldn't get him out because he had a lease, but he was always late. And so he discounted the property to get it off his books. He just couldn't stand this anymore. And another guy sitting across the room bought that at that discounted price, and his yield went way, way up because he viewed it as this tenant chooses to pay a higher rent every single month.
I just think that we create the problem. We have a lease, we have a process. And you're not doing, I think Jim mentioned, you're not doing them any favors. I mean, at the moment they go into default based on language in your rental agreement, the balance is the lowest it's ever going to be, right? And you just hold them accountable. It's when we start moving away from what our own process is that the domino effect happens and the snowball effect happens. And then it's a process out of control. I mean, draw your line in the sand. My best manager today, bless her heart, rest in peace. She passed away a few years, but she was no tolerance. Line in the sand. I don't take partial payments, and you will pay on time or you will be auctioned. And she wasn't mean about it. It was just changing people's behavior, right? From the moment they rent the unit. It's not about being ugly. You're running a business. They entered into the rental agreement. The first paragraph on every lease I've ever written is your payments due in advance without demand. We shouldn't have to chase it. You can be kind about it, but you got to have your line in the sand. Hey, Jim, I hear what you're saying, right? I hear. But your balance is the cheapest it's going to be right here, right now, right? So find a way to pay, right? Well, can you wait till Friday? No, why don't you borrow it from a friend and pay them back on Friday? Right? Not me. I'm sorry.
It's business, right, Lynn?
Yeah, and you can be kind about it, but we all have those managers, right? That they're emotional. I get it. They talk to these people, especially the older ones, 45 minutes a day, and then they complain because the person talks to them for 45 minutes when they come to make their payment. But it's just a conversation. And it's like, I'm sorry, Jim, I'm sorry. I can't take it. I can't take the partial payment. So come back when you can pay in full. Remember your unit's being sold on the 14th at 2 o'clock.
That's what we talked about in this session, set the expectation. The lease presentation is when you set the expectation. And the one thing that came out of Jeff's mouth I thought was really funny, not funny, but anybody who uses the word grace period in our industry, I mean, that Jeff said that in certain states that could really mess with your auction process. I mean, we tell people your rent's due on or before the first without demand. After that, you are considered late. And stop it. But, they can read the lease. That they can read through. They can see when the late fee is. But I can guarantee you, if you tell somebody I got a 5-day grace period and they're calling you on day 7 when the late fee goes on, well, I'm only 1 day late. No, you're 7 days late. Well, no, I have a grace period. Grace period is a term we none of us should ever use in our industry.
Totally get it. Hey, last few minutes here. I'm gonna be mindful of everyone's time. Just curious, with the show, any of the vendors, any new players that are coming in that stood out? Guess not.
I mean, there were some really cool looking booths. I mean,
Yeah.
there are some nice new booths out there. I mean, and Shannon, they did a great thing. They were interviewing a lot of us operators, trying to figure out who's doing what and where we're at. And I actually sat down with Paul Richards. And Shannon, you were in between Paul and I, and we were going back comparing what we were doing. And it's that back and forth banner between operators is phenomenal in our industry.
Hang on, Jim. We can't forget about the live tattoo process going on at Store Suite.
Store Suite had a live tattoo. John Manus got one. I saw Damon Emerson got one.
Yeah, so did Christine. They all got one.
Christina, actually, Sydney Jensen was posting hers on social media yesterday because she got the owl behind her ear and she's flashing on social media last night. So that was that. And of course, you can't forget George Washington and Abraham Lincoln on stilts in the reception on Wednesday night.
Yep, that creeped some people out last I heard.
That's what that was. I saw a thing on LinkedIn, a picture of it. I'm like, what is that? Okay, they were on stilts. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So, all right. So live.
Yeah, Store Suite was actually, it was really, this was our first show since kind of all coming together. And so I feel like we had a good opportunity to kind of hear from different people who in my mind are still in, different organizations. I'm trying to kind of have to knit those together in my brain. But yeah, I mean, I think they're really capitalizing on the synergy they already had and probably realizing a lot of operational efficiencies as a result of making the changes.
There were a lot of website companies out there that were there strong. A lot of software companies out there had a lot of things going on. A lot of people are talking about their latest and greatest coming out. And that's one thing I love about walking around the trade shows. You get to see what's coming out, how they're reinventing some of the products. And look, competition is great for all of us.
Yeah.
If we have more vendors in the market, trying to earn our business. And, prime example was Storage Lead's got a beautiful website now, and their dashboard really sets them apart. It's only going to make the other website companies stronger because if they want to compete, they're going to have to do something too.
Yeah, I have one of my clients that's weighing on getting his portfolio over to Storage Lead, and I'm simply hoping he does because I want to play with it. I want to have access to it and see the dashboard. So
exactly,
we'll see. All right, we got like 2 more minutes, guys. Any last thoughts or last questions? And while we're sitting here, 2 weeks. Well, we'll discuss this later, Jim. I don't know if we may have a guest host or we'll do another date. I won't be available on that Friday. I'm actually doing a 3-day. Speaking of workshop and boot camp, I'm locking myself in a room with me and about 4 other people with a coach and doing an AI boot camp workshop kind of thing, and just doing 8 hours a day, 3 days straight for AI stuff. So,
and I didn't get invited.
Not for this one. I'm doing this because I want to learn it so I can teach it. And I think that'd be kind of cool. Well, I'll do like a little workshop for everybody else. But
hey, Cooper, I heard you laughing. That wasn't funny.
Yeah, no, that was kind of funny. I wasn't alone laughing.
Stacy Maxwell had a round table that broke down using AI in layman terms. And I got held up and couldn't get to it, but she said, here's my cheat sheet. You didn't show up, but it was well worth it. And it showed you how to get Chat GPT doing reviews and take your reviews that customers give and tweak it some.
Gotcha. And who had the cheat sheet? I missed the name.
Stacy Maxwell from
Stacy.
USG.
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked that up. That was a really helpful tool. That might be one of the best things I took away from this show.
Really? Okay. I will reach out to Stacy then. I'll get that cheat sheet from her. Perfect.
Stacy's funny. It was funny. I was standing by her booth, and Eric Gardner from 5 Star was there. And Eric's a good guy. I've known him a long time. He used to work Go Local. Now he's marketing for 5 Star, and he's scanning. Stacy's trying to scan his QR code, and Stacy's saying there was a problem with it. And I said, "Well, if you had a real marketing person," and Stacy just lost it. And Eric goes, "I used to like you." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I don't care." But Stacy was howling. It was funny.
Got to show her. I forget who it was. It was Public or Manhattan Mini Storage. Just did their whole new signage. It's huge, and the QR code is as big as a house. That's on this sign. I'm like, she would like that. She's the QR queen.
The funniest one I ever saw from Manhattan Mini was during the election in 04. I forget what election it was, where they said, "If you're moving in Canada, store your stuff with us."
Yep. No, I like their marketing department. They kind of push the envelope at times, but hey, it gets attention.
Sometimes I think they push it all the time.
Yes. All right, got a question real quick before we'll wrap it up here. Has anyone started using NFC tags instead of QR codes?
StorePass is rolling out NFC tags on some of their signage they're putting up on the properties to take them certain places. The one probably ran into with NFC tags. If you don't have a blocker behind it and you put the NFC tag on something metal, it's not going to work right.
Spider Door also is using NFC tags on their locks. You have the option QR or NFC.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, good deal.
That's correct, Max. And those tags will also communicate with StorePass seamlessly if you're using both of those products and services.
Correct.
All right. Well, it's top of the hour. I'll be mindful of everyone's time. So again, appreciate everyone jumping on here, being part of the conversation, going back and forth. It'd be boring if no one showed up. Just be me and Jim sitting here twiddling our thumbs and talking back and forth. So
it's growing every week, Jim, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. I think we had about 40 something of us on here this time. So I love it. So again, get everyone the same homework assignment. Invite 3 people because maybe one of them will show up next time. We'll just kind of keep this growing. I really appreciate it. And I'll make sure everyone's in the loop on for rescheduling or maybe not doing it the next Friday session. We'll let everybody know. You won't be in the dark. So
Maybe we'll find a guest speaker.
yeah, if you can do that, that'd be fantastic.
I got a few thoughts in mind. So
Cool. All right, that sounds good. Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Have a great
Thank
week.
you, everyone.
Take care.